Hello, and welcome back to the shop. I thought I'd make a quick video just on some things within my shop that I think are key elements to making a great shop, or a good shop great. I originally built this shop. I'm a carpenter by trade, so when I built the shop, I mostly had woodworking in mind when I did it, or when I designed it. That's why I put an epoxy floor that was supposed to be really fancy and nice, and it turned out like it did, because once you live on an acreage and you realize most of the work you're doing is actually mechanical, or welding, or metal fabrication and things of the sort, the floor gets pretty beat up in comparison. But anyway, here's a list of a couple things, outside of your typical, I have a TV, I got a stereo, I got a beer fridge, all those great things. But some of the highlight things that I'd like to point out is, well, shelving is one. Having a massive amount of shelving is super helpful in organizing all your stuff and keeping it ready so it's not all buried in a bin somewhere and you're digging around not knowing what you actually have. Another big thing is I have a chalkboard. Most people will say dry erase is the way to go. I'm old school. I like the chalk. It's really great. It also works out very well when your children want to come here and draw all sorts of things. Another big thing that I really like in the shop is I use these cabinets that I luckily came across to kind of build them together with a radial arm saw in the middle. Very dangerous saw, kind of outlawed and outdated now, but it's an amazing tool if you know how to use it. And having a long stretch like this has come in handy quite frequently. So I highly recommend something like that. Another thing that I really have come to love is magnetic tool storage. You can buy these magnets at Princess Auto. They do have two different lines of them. One is cheap and shitty. One of them holds really well. I really like this because I'm not ever digging, looking for tools. They're well organized. They're right in front of your face. It's pretty simple and easy to see what you need and grab, which makes things a lot quicker, to say the least. The other thing that I installed was this chain hoist on this sliding guide up top. Let's see if I can move it here for you so you can see it. It rolls on these rollers. The original thought on it was that as I get older, I don't want to lift things out of the back of my truck. So I lined it up so I could back the truck in here, hoist something up, drive the truck out, lower it back onto the floor. I got this rail actually out of an old meat processing facility. So originally I actually had this big gnarly hook hanging off of it for whatever carcass you were hanging. But yeah, when I built the shop, originally I beefed up the trusses substantially in this area of the ceiling, knowing that this is what I wanted to do. Eventually came across this track and was able to salvage it for free, and then just hooked the chain fall to it, and it's been amazing. It's such a lifesaver for putting implements on and off the tractor, for lifting whatever you need to lift, working on whatever you need to work on. It's been amazing. So I highly recommend something like that. Another thing that people talk about is dust extractors. And like I said, I planned on doing a lot of woodworking, so I thought I would buy a typical dust extractor, but I ended up getting this Central Vac out of a house that was being demolished for free. So I thought I'd give it a whirl. So I hooked this thing all up and I ran lines, one over here and down on this part of the shop, and kind of cuts across the ceiling, and I ran it down. I got an outlet for the saw, and I got another outlet down here, and then another outlet at the floor for sweeping into, and it's worked awesome. It hasn't been a problem at all. I've got a hose over here that I hook to it and use it to vacuum up the shop or a car or whatever I want. And it's been really great. One thing to note is originally I bought these gate valves, actually from Lee Valley, to shut them on and off. And it's great if you're working with really clean materials, but if you get some little rocks or anything in there, they fall into the guide there and they don't close. So I ended up abandoning these and just, going to, if I want to shut this one off, I just got a lid for it. I just pop this hose off. I put a lid on it. Easy as that. But yeah, that's been working great. So I recommend it, to be honest with you. Patio door. I think a patio door in the shop is awesome. Windows take up a lot of wall space. You don't want too many windows because, as you see, you can fill walls with all sorts of things. But the patio door has been just great. It faces out into our yard. So the wife on the outside was able to dress up the side of the shop and, kind of make it look like some kind of garden house type thing, which makes the yard look really great. She's happy with it. I'm happy with it. A lot of feedback was, well, it's easy to break into a patio door. Well, I guess my opinion is if someone's trying to break into your shop or has the mentality that they need to get into your shop, they're getting in. So patio door or man door, they're coming in. I love it. I love the daylight that comes through it. Love everything about it. Patio door. The next thing I would bring up is this. This is a toilet. So I've always been a believer that if I can't pee on my own land, I've done something wrong. But I've also learned that with all the neighbors and the kids, I live in an acreage community, so we're not in the city, but there's a lot of people around, a lot of things going on. And I also don't like going outside when it's freezing cold because we live in Canada and it's minus 40 some nights, and I don't necessarily feel like gearing all up and going outside when I've been working in the shop. So we installed this. Pretty simple, just some plumbing parts. You open it up, you pee down the hole. On the outside of the shop, we used a auger. We drilled down about 12 feet. I dumped, using 5-gallon buckets, I probably dumped 4 5-gallon buckets of pea gravel down there. And then we dropped the pipe down, backfilled to about 6 feet, which is here, that's the typical frost depth in a non-driving lane. And then I actually used a couple of those, the bags you use to mix up for setting posts. It's basically like a spray foam, but it's kind of easier to use. So I mixed those up, dumped those down there, right at about 6 feet. And the idea being is that then frost wouldn't penetrate and get down the tube and freeze everything up. Backfilled to the top, and it's been great. I've been using it for a few years now, and it's been awesome. No smell, no freezing, it doesn't frost up in the winter. It's been really great. Metal table is key if you're getting into kind of fabrication stuff. Lots of vices, a small welder. Probably get yourself a vintage ashtray. Hopefully your father has something like that to give you. But yeah, to me, those would be the key things in my shop that kind of set it apart. Thanks for watching.